So what makes a General Tso's chicken taste like General Tso's chicken? The key ingredient is rice vinegar. It's that little bit of tang with the soy sauce and the sweetness that gives General Tso's chicken its characteristic flavor. Hey everyone, it's Kaitlin from The Walks of Life, and today we're gonna make shortcut General Tso's ground chicken. So a little while ago, we shared a shortcut Mongolian ground beef, and you guys loved it. I mean, I love that recipe too, but I was thrilled that you guys all seem to enjoy it as well.
It kind of looks like General Tso's chicken.
The nuggets of beef.
I actually thought to myself, hey, should we be making a General Tso's chicken with ground chicken?
Interesting.
Now, I don't know about you, but even though we have a General Tso's chicken recipe, we hardly ever make it at home. It's definitely kind of like a special occasion when you want that indulgent flavor and texture kind of dish. Normally, what you do is you cut up the chicken, you dredge it or batter it, and then you have to deep fry it in a pot of oil, and then you actually have to do a second fry to make sure it's crispy. So with ground chicken, we actually eliminate a lot of the oil that you have to use, and you kind of naturally get that like craggly, crispy texture. I'm really excited to show you how quick and delicious this is, so let's make it. So to make our General Tso's chicken, you do need a handful of items. 1 pound of ground chicken. I have a little bit of broccoli here. I find that the steamed broccoli just gives it that General Tso's experience, but we're not gonna mix it into the dish, just serve it on the side. And then we need rice vinegar, brown sugar, Shaoxing wine, soy sauce, dark soy sauce, just a little bit. If you don't have it, you could omit it, but it adds that kind of rich color. Salt, chicken stock, I'm using bouillon paste today, sesame oil, white pepper, garlic, some dried red chilies, and then what gives it that crisp, craggly texture that we're yearning for is a little bit of flour with cornstarch. More on that in a sec. All of these ingredients are our classic pantry staples, at least if you've been cooking with The Walks of Life. So I'm gonna marinate our chicken, and it's a pretty standard pre-stir fry marinade. So I need 2 teaspoons of Shaoxing wine, and this just gives the chicken that kind of like aromatic quality. And I would say, if you've been cooking Chinese food and you're finding that the flavor that you're getting at home doesn't taste quite right, a lot of the time it's from a lack of Shaoxing wine. So next I need a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I need a 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper. And the last thing is a 1/2 teaspoon of sesame oil. So I'm just gonna give this a stir. I'm just gonna use this spoon. I should have said this earlier, but when you're selecting the ground chicken, you should really be looking for ground chicken that has some fat in it. Don't get the like 100% white meat, 0 fat, or like tiny percentage of fat ground chicken, because a little fat is going to taste much better. And usually if it's got a higher fat percentage, it's dark meat, which 9 times out of 10 is gonna taste a lot better, particularly when you're using ground meat. So this is my chicken, ready to go. So I'm just gonna cut the garlic. You know, you're just looking for it to be chopped, nothing fancy. And the way that you can safely cut things is you kind of make like a claw so that you can't like cut the tip of your finger off. It's normal to get a little scared even so, but that's the proper method. These are kind of big cloves. Probably could have just used 1. Call for 2 cloves of garlic. So I'm also just gonna cut up some broccoli to go on the side, and I'm gonna wash this and steam it while the rest of the dish is coming together. So now I'm ready to make the sauce, and I'm just gonna put a little bit of bouillon. I'm just gonna eyeball it. Normally you would use 1 teaspoon for every 8 ounces. Next, I'm gonna add the brown sugar. So you can use light or dark. I have dark here. I'm gonna use 3.5 tablespoons. I'm just gonna like lightly pack them. 1, 2, 3.5. For all you folks trying to reduce sugar, I'm right there with you, but it's kind of a key component of the dish.
You're trying to reduce sugar.
Don't eat it.
Don't eat it.
Don't eat it. So now we need a 1/2 teaspoon of dark soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of light soy sauce, and like I mentioned earlier, the key ingredient is 2.5 teaspoons of rice vinegar. When I was testing this dish, I kept on saying to myself, I was like, I think it needs more vinegar. I think it needs more vinegar. And it was actually a lot more than even I thought was necessary, but you really want that little tang to come out and balance the sugar and the heat from the chili peppers. That's the sauce. So I'm just gonna stir this up and have this ready to go when I am at the wok. The one thing that we're not gonna skip is that dredging element. So we are gonna use a mixture of cornstarch and flour, and that's gonna give it that crispy, yummy, delicious flavor that you expect with General Tso's chicken, but it's gonna come together a lot faster. 5 tablespoons of cornstarch is about 1/3 cup. Measure however you like. And 5. Now, I did find that this recipe was a little different from the ground Mongolian beef. Ground beef has like a slightly drier texture, and ground chicken is definitely more wet. So it kind of like drinks up the dredge a little bit more. So we have like a higher volume of cornstarch here, and we're using some flour to add heft to the crust, whereas with the Mongolian ground beef, we did not need the flour. So I'm just gonna stir this up. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you do want it to be combined. All right, it's ready for my chicken. Once you dredge a chicken, you gotta go right to the wok. Kind of an inelegant process, but basically I just put this big chunk of ground chicken into the dredge. I'm just gonna use my hands to kind of toss it and break it up into chunks. So the goal is to have like a good solid coat. Normally when you cook ground meat, like I see a lot of people kind of like mincing up the meat into tiny little bits. That's not the goal here. The goal here is to kind of get like a tasty chunk that's gonna fry up nicely. So at first you might be nervous that it's not gonna come together, but you can see that this is getting really nicely coated. And we've got some chunks, not too big, not too small. And we're ready to go to the wok. Okay, we're at the wok, but you could easily use a skillet for this dish. I just think with the shallow frying, the wok is a little bit easier because the oil pools downwards, so kind of feels like you're using more oil than you are. Whatever works. Just letting the wok preheat until it's just smoking. I do want it pretty hot at the outset because you want that chicken when it hits the pan to immediately get like a pretty good crust. So once it's just started smoking, I'm gonna reduce the heat to medium high, and I'm gonna add 4 tablespoons of oil, which is 1/4 cup. You know, when we recipe develop, sometimes we go in tablespoon increments or teaspoon increments, and then we forget at the end to be like, oh, it's just 1/4 cup. So my chicken's gonna go in. Whoa. So I'm just gonna spread it into a single layer. So now we're really waiting for a crust to form. Got the fire at medium heat, and we don't wanna rush it because then your chicken pieces are gonna get scorched. Slow and steady wins the race on this one. So like I said earlier, a lot of the time, like I actually saw a gadget the other day that was like designed to break up ground meat faster. Kind of like a spatula that had like a cross pattern. The goal here is not to like break up the ground chicken into tiny little bits. They're more like chunks. So just try to keep that in mind when you are at this step. We got some golden colors forming. Take a peek, and like these edge pieces are looking good, so I'm actually gonna flip and kind of move the chicken around, and that's gonna help distribute some of the fat a little bit more evenly. We wanna make sure that all the pieces are getting some of that crisping action. So 1/4 cup of oil is definitely trending towards the higher side of what you would need for a stir fry, but it's still a lot less than a whole pot of oil that you would need to fry pieces of chicken in your average General Tso's chicken. So I consider that a win. So our chicken's looking really nice. Like, look at that piece. It's got that kind of craggly, crisp exterior, and then there's still juicy ground meat on the inside. So at this point, I can kind of give it a stir fry. Most of the pinkness is gone out of it, but this is actually gonna cook in the sauce again. So you don't want to like blast it until it's dry. It seems hard to do, but you definitely can overcook ground meat, and the texture is not great. So my chicken is done. I'm gonna keep it in the bowl that it marinated in while I cook up the sauce because this will cook one more time. It's gonna be brought to a boil. So I'm just gonna add another like teaspoon or so of oil to the wok just to give the peppers and the garlic something to infuse in. So we just want to toast these a little bit, and I can already see them getting dark. So I'm gonna add the garlic. This is too large of a bowl for my garlic, but so you just want that garlic to get like a kiss of fragrance on it. We don't want it to get any color. Like 30 seconds is really all you need. Now I'm ready to add my sauce. So I'm just gonna let this sauce heat up to a simmer, and that should happen very quickly in the wok. So once it's bubbling on the edges, I'm gonna add the chicken back in. And the beauty of this recipe is that you don't need a cornstarch slurry because this chicken is just gonna thicken up this sauce. All that sugar is gonna get caramelized and it's gonna have that really delicious sticky quality. So I just added in another half a teaspoon of dark soy sauce. Kind of been playing around with the levels of dark soy sauce on this recipe, but we decided that 1 teaspoon is actually ideal. So you see how there's no standing sauce and the chicken is actually completely coated and the sauce has this like nice sticky quality? That's exactly what you want and we're ready to plate the dish. This is my General Tso's ground chicken. Let's give it a taste. I kind of love that you can just eat it with a spoon too. It's really got that right balance of sweet and salty and tangy and a little bit of heat from those chili peppers. If you want it to be less spicy, you can omit it or just do 1 or 2. This is so much easier than chopping the chicken, dredging the chicken, frying the chicken, double frying the chicken. Even though my dad has a great General Tso's chicken recipe, I do leave that one to the professionals. But this is my version that I can make when I have the craving. If your chili peppers are really old and they've been sitting around your pantry for a while, first of all, it's probably time to replace them. But if you're like me and you're stubborn, just keep in mind that those will probably pack less spice than one fresh from the store. These are fresh from the store. This is pretty spicy.
Is that the whole thing? Or you have more than one?
There's more than one.
Very interesting, right? The ground chicken just lumps together.
Mm-hmm.
Ground chicken lumps.
Isn't it good?
No deep frying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
So that's my shortcut General Tso's ground chicken. I really hope you guys like this one as much as you enjoyed the shortcut Mongolian ground beef. And you can find the full recipe over at thewalksoflife.com. If you enjoyed this video, remember to give it a like and subscribe for more videos. And there's lots and lots more recipes over at our blog, so check them out. Thanks, everyone. So now I'm ready to make the sauce. And will you desist?
Is that real tea?
Yeah, it's real tea. What do you think it is? Dishwater? But if you want to try something a little... I'm done.
Cut.